Hey guys, my name is Timio, and welcome to another episode of Sunday Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your game-related questions, and then I will give my humble opinion on them. To get the formats out of the way real quick, if you would like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below, or by sending me a Facebook and Twitter message. The first question for today comes from Radiant's Edge, and it is, have you noticed shield users in Rainbow Six Siege abusing the aim down sight swipe exploits? I don't know if it's just me, but it makes it nearly impossible to land a headshot against them. You are not alone with this. I'm assuming what you mean by this exploit is you'll have a shield user aim down sight really quickly, take the shot, and then bring the shield back up. And then they'll just kind of spam that back and forth. The result of it is that they get better accuracy out of their pistol because they're aiming down sight, so better than just kind of hip firing it. But they also get the protection of the shield because they bring it back up a split second later, and so when the person tries to retaliate, the shield is there to protect their face. When you're on the receiving end of this tactic, it can be a nightmare. But I don't know if it's necessarily a nightmare because of this tactic or exploit or whatever you want to call it, or if it's just a current problem with the netcode and the hit registration with shield users. With every other operator, if I land a headshot against them, they're gonna die. Of course, there's a few exceptions, but if I get a headshot against Ash, she's gonna die right then and there. But as soon as we start to transition on over into getting headshots against anyone who's using a riot shield, even if they're not using this cheesy little tactic, there's a lot of examples where they're not dying even though blood is flying all over the screen because I'm landing a headshot against them. Here's a lot of examples. Trying to win a firefight against these guys seems to be a flip of the coin. It's like, okay, I know they're not exploiting. I know that they're not taking advantage of this tactic. Why in the hell am I not getting a headshot against them? And so at the end of the day, I think this is more of a netcode related issue and less of a problem with people taking advantage of the tactic. Or maybe it's the fact that the netcode, at least with shield, seems to be as bad, that this tactic is as advantageous as it is right now. I don't really know. And so I'm crossing my fingers that the developers are aware of this issue because it's very frustrating to fight against, and that in the next patch, they're going to be able to address it because it is kind of game-breaking in some situations. The next question comes from Foamlord, and it is, what are your thoughts on the recent DLC patch for The Division? I might be done with The Division because while I like the game conceptually, I've always wanted to have a loot-based first-person shooter on PC. I mean, this may come as a surprise to some of you, but I enjoy Destiny. I like that style of game, but there really just isn't any endgame content, and with this most recent patch update, this most recent DLC, I've been very disappointed by what they've delivered on. It just doesn't seem like they know what they're doing or where they want to head with their end game. I'm not just saying that to be an asshole. Like, I realize game development is very challenging, and I have no idea or the first thing about how to develop a game, but they do a lot of stuff that contradicts what they're telling their player base. To give you a couple examples of this, they added in supply drops to the Dark Zone. A lot of people were excited about these because they assumed this was going to contain some of the best gear in the game. It was going to be something that people would fight over and even go rogue after because they wanted this loot. It was going to facilitate some PvP action, which really doesn't happen all that often in the Dark Zone. Ironically, the supply drops mainly just give you purples, which no one really even cares about anymore because named mobs will give you yellows. The mobs that are guarding the supply drops give you better loot. It's ridiculous. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. They also said that they wanted to phase out crafting, or at least make it not as prevalent. Before this update, if you wanted the best armor and weapons, you crafted it. You went over to a merchant, you bought the blueprint, and you crafted that item over and over and over again until you got a good roll, and it was the item quality that you desired. That was basically the end game. They wanted to move away from that so that you would get your items from mobs. A lot of people love this idea. I really like the idea. Some people may have been upset, but it seemed like the right direction. The funny thing is, though, is that as soon as the patch went live, people quickly realized that nothing changed, and while you might get lucky with a few drops here and there, really the most reliable and effective way to gear up your character and get to that end game is still with crafting. And then finally, we have the Incursion. The Incursion has to be one of the most lazy attempts that I've seen in quite some time at adding in more content into a video game. At its core, you're in a giant room, you fight off waves of enemies, there's a boss, and then you get some loot. That's it. Where's the fun boss battle that everyone was expecting? Where's the variety? Where's the fun gameplay? What I was really hoping for is missions where you would be fighting through the streets protecting a convoy, or you were trying to take out a convoy with swarms of enemies all over the place. A lot of people had high hopes for this incursion. Many were thinking and hoping that it was going to be similar to raids from other games like World of Warcraft or Destiny, where you had to band together, figure out the puzzle, figure out the boss battle, and then once you finally did it, you get that sense of gratification. In The Division, all they seem to know how to do is just throw more enemies at you, and that's about it. Like, that's not fun for me. And so, at least in my opinion, this is one of the most disappointing aspects about this update, is that I was hoping that this was going to be an awesome raid that was going to add in a lot of variety into The Division, and that's not what we got. And so just in general, I haven't been all that happy with the end game. They say one thing, they do the other. I don't know if this is incompetence. I don't know if it's because that's just the vision that they have for The Division, which is fine. They can do whatever they want. But for me, it's not gelling, and so for the foreseeable future, I don't have many plans of playing The Division. The next question comes from Max, and it is, what would your opinions be on a defender on Siege which would have a bolt-action rifle? I believe this would add a new dynamic to the defense. However, to ensure that he doesn't become a rushing operator, make his aim down sight painfully slow. I would be very surprised if they decided to add in a bolt-action rifle for the Defender team, and that's for a couple of reasons. The main one is that it completely goes against their design philosophy of offense and defense. You probably noticed everyone on offense has an assault rifle. Everyone on defense is using some sort of SMG or carbine. That's by design. I'm assuming they didn't want the defenders to excel at sniping people at long range. You're supposed to be defending. You should be around the objective. This is the reason why when you're using the MP5, for example, while it's very accurate, and if you get a headshot, you're gonna be able to drop them. If you go for body shots on an assault rifle, you're gonna be at a huge disadvantage. They're simply gonna do more damage if they only go for body shots as well. That's their entire design dynamic between offense and defense. As soon as you give a defender a bolt-action rifle, that just throws it out the window, and I just don't see them doing that. The other reason why is that a bolt-action rifle just doesn't make sense in a house. Why would you be using a bolt-action rifle in close encounter combat? That doesn't make any sense. Everything is gonna be up close and personal. Getting into a position with a long line of sight isn't gonna happen very often. And while yeah, there are gonna be some times where you can peek out a window and counter snipe someone, it's just not gonna happen very often. So it just doesn't make sense from that viewpoint as well. And so I know a lot of people have brought this up. I know a lot of people have suggested this. You would not believe how often I get this question. I think it's for these two reasons why I would be very surprised if they did decide to add a bolt-action rifle to Rainbow Six Siege, at least for the defenders. The next question is, I've noticed that you've been streaming a lot of Dark Souls 3 lately, and I was wondering what your general impressions on it were so far. Dark Souls 3 might be my game of the year. I know it's too early to tell. I know that might sound ridiculous because there's a lot of months left of the year and there's a lot of games to come, but that is how much I love this game right now. Even just thinking about it right now makes me feel good. I know how absurd that sounds. Like you're feeling good about playing or thinking about a video game. Like how corny can you be? But just thinking about playing this game brings a smile to my face. The map design is incredible, the art is fantastic, the boss battles are all unique and fun and memorable. Even just the individual mobs that you come across in any zone have like 5 or 6 different movesets, which makes every single fight fun and challenging. It is like they learned everything from their past games, and this is their masterpiece. I will mention that I haven't beaten the game yet, and so maybe the last couple of bosses are atrocious, maybe it's ruined at the end of the game, but at least right now, I'm loving every single minute of it. I absolutely adore it, and so if you have been on the fence about picking up Dark Souls 3, if you like the previous ones, do yourself a favor and pick it up, and I don't think that you are going to be disappointed in the slightest. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's Sunday Mailbox. I hope you enjoyed. As always, if you would like to submit your own question for an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below or by sending me a Facebook and Twitter message. But until tomorrow, guys, have a good one and take it easy.